In a bustling car dealership in the heart of Los Angeles, the air was thick with the scent of new leather and polished metal. The showroom sparkled under bright lights, showcasing an array of luxury vehicles, sleek Ferraris, shiny Lamborghinis, and a gleaming Rolls-Royce that seemed to shimmer with opulence. Among this high-end display, an elderly man named Harold Jenkins stepped through the glass doors, dressed in a faded army jacket and a well-worn cap that bore the insignia of his unit. Harold paused at the entrance, gripping his wooden cane tightly. The contrast between his humble appearance and the lavish surroundings was stark. He scanned the showroom, his heart heavy with purpose. This wasn't just a casual visit, it was a quest to honor his late son, a soldier who had given everything for his country. Today, he hoped to buy a car in his son's memory. Unbeknownst to Harold, the dealership's owner, Marcus Ryan, was observing from a distance. Disguised in a casual leather jacket and jeans, Marcus blended in with the crowd as a regular customer. He had come to the dealership to conduct a secret test of his employees. He wanted to see if they would uphold the values he had built the business on: respect, service, and dignity, regardless of a customer's appearance. As Harold approached the nearest salesman, a tall man named Jeff, he was met with a look of disdain. Jeff adjusted his expensive cufflinks and forced a tight smile. "Can I help you, sir?" Harold's voice was raspy but kind. "Just looking around, young man." With a sigh, Jeff glanced at his watch. "This dealership specializes in luxury cars. You might want to check out a used car lot down the street. They might have something more affordable." Harold felt a pang of disappointment but kept his composure. "I understand, but I came here to buy a car." Jeff scoffed, his arrogance seeping through. "Really? What exactly are you looking for?" Harold replied softly, "Something in honor of my son. He served in the army and gave everything for this country." For a brief moment, Marcus felt a lump form in his throat as he watched the exchange. Jeff, however, laughed dismissively. "That's a nice story, but sentimental tales don't get you any discounts here. These cars aren't cheap." Harold's calm demeanor didn't waver, but Marcus could see the subtle tightening of his fists at his sides. "I never asked for a discount," Harold said quietly. Jeff rolled his eyes. "Let's be real. You can't afford a car here. You're wasting my time." Marcus's jaw clenched in frustration. He had built his dealership on principles of respect for all customers, regardless of their appearance. But he wanted to see how far Jeff would push Harold before intervening. Harold nodded slowly, as if he had faced this kind of treatment before. He turned away, but not before pausing near a striking black Cadillac. His fingers brushed against the smooth surface, admiring the craftsmanship. Just then, a younger salesman named Liam approached, having overheard the earlier conversation. "Sir, can I help you with something?" Liam asked, his eyes filled with sincerity. Harold smiled gently. "I like this one." "It's a classic," Liam agreed, looking at the Cadillac with admiration. Jeff, overhearing, scoffed as he returned. "Come on, Liam. Don't waste your time. He doesn't belong here." With a heavy heart, Marcus knew he couldn't let this continue. Before he could step in, Harold reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The room fell silent as he opened it, revealing a Medal of Honor, the highest military award a soldier could receive. Gasps echoed through the showroom as customers and employees froze. Harold picked up the medal, running his fingers over its polished surface. "This was my son's," he said, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "He gave his life saving others." Jeff's confident demeanor vanished, replaced by a look of disbelief. Marcus felt a surge of anger for how his employee had treated this distinguished veteran. He stepped forward, every movement deliberate. "Jeff," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm, "you just humiliated a Medal of Honor recipient in my dealership." Silence engulfed the room as Jeff's face drained of color. I didn't know," he stammered. "That's the problem, isn't it? Marcus replied, locking eyes with the veteran. You assumed he didn't deserve your respect based on his appearance. But here, we respect everyone equally. Harold remained composed, not raising his voice, but the weight of his presence spoke volumes. Liam stood beside him, now visibly ashamed for not stepping in sooner. Marcus turned back to the veteran, his expression shifting to one of deep respect. On behalf of this dealership and my employees, I sincerely apologize for how you were treated today. Harold studied Marcus for a moment before nodding slowly. Thank you. Now, Marcus continued, if you'll allow me, I'd like to personally help you find the car you were looking for, not as a sale, but as a gift in honor of your son. Surprised, Harold replied, you don't have to do that. I want to, Marcus insisted. You came here to honor your son, and that deserves recognition. As the atmosphere shifted from tension to warmth, Jeff, still in shock, finally found his voice. Sir, I can fix this. I can help. Marcus turned to him, his expression icy. You're fired. Jeff's jaw dropped. What? You can't be serious. I can, Marcus replied. In 3 years, you've learned nothing about what this dealership stands for. I built this place to serve all people, not just the wealthy. As Jeff stood there, helpless, Marcus turned back to Harold. Shall we? Harold chuckled softly, shaking his head. You're something else, son. I try, Marcus said with a grin. The real car search began, not centered on money or status, but on honor and respect. As they moved through the showroom, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Harold's story. Why a Cadillac? Marcus asked, curious. Harold smiled, nostalgia filling his eyes. My son loved the idea of speed and the open road. We always planned a cross-country trip together. The weight of loss hung heavy in the air. For Harold, this wasn't just about buying a car, it was about closing a chapter and keeping his son's memory alive. He had spent years mourning, and the thought of driving across the country in a car his son would have loved brought a flicker of joy to his heart. As they discussed various models, a sense of camaraderie developed between Harold and Marcus. The two men shared stories about their lives, and Marcus found himself captivated by Harold's experiences. He learned that Harold had served in the military for over 2 decades and had faced battles far beyond the physical ones. The emotional scars from losing his son were deeply etched into his soul. Just then, the dealership doors swung open, and a woman entered, her expensive suit contrasting sharply with the showroom. It was Samantha Hayes, the corporate lawyer for Westmount Motors, known for her ruthlessness. Marcus, she snapped, striding toward him, you've made a huge mistake by firing Kevin. What now? Marcus replied, bracing for confrontation. You don't realize the trouble you're in, Samantha warned. Gregory Steele, Kevin's father, is furious and threatening to pull his investments from every dealership affiliated with us. Marcus remained unfazed. Good. Let him. Samantha's frustration boiled over. You're willing to lose millions over one employee? I'm willing to lose billions if it means standing by my values, Marcus shot back. You've just declared war on Gregory Steele, she warned, storming off. Guess I made things complicated for myself, Marcus said, turning back to Harold. Son, don't back down now, Harold encouraged, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. With renewed determination, Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call. I need a favor, he said. Run a full-scale audit on Gregory Steele's business dealings. As the conversation ended, Marcus turned to Harold. What about you? What's next? I drive, Harold replied simply. I'll take this car and honor my son's memory. With a newfound connection between them, Marcus grinned. Let's make it happen. As they finalized the deal for the Cadillac, Marcus realized that this encounter had changed him profoundly. The true value of life wasn't in wealth, but in the relationships we build and the respect we show others. When the paperwork was complete, Harold took the keys, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you, Marcus. You've given me more than a car." As Harold drove off into the sunset, a sense of peace enveloped him. Marcus watched the car disappear, knowing that today wasn't just about business, it was about humanity, honor, and the importance of standing for what is right. Back inside, the atmosphere had shifted. Employees whispered among themselves, admiration for Harold evident in their voices. Marcus gathered his team, ready to reinforce the values that defined Westmount Luxury Auto. "Today, we learned something important," he began. "Respect isn't earned, it's given. This dealership will always stand for dignity and honor, no matter who walks through our doors." As the employees nodded in agreement, Marcus felt a surge of purpose. He had not just defended a veteran, he had reaffirmed his commitment to a legacy built on respect and empathy. But as the day wore on, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the battle with Gregory Steele was only beginning. He had made a powerful enemy, but he was ready to fight for his principles. He had built Westmount Luxury Auto from the ground up, and he wouldn't let anyone tear it down. The next day, as Marcus prepared for the inevitable fallout, he received a call from his lawyer. "Marcus, you need to prepare for a legal battle. Gregory is not going to take this lying down." "I know," Marcus replied, determination lacing his voice. "But I refuse to back down. We stand for something bigger than just profits." As the week progressed, the media frenzy surrounding the dealership intensified. News outlets picked up the story of Harold Jenkins and the disrespect he had faced, shining a light on the values that Marcus had fought to uphold. With each passing day, the public's support grew. Customers flooded the dealership, eager to show their solidarity with Harold and to stand against the arrogance of corporate greed. Marcus saw an opportunity to not only defend his business but to promote a message of respect and dignity. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus received a letter from Gregory Steele's legal team, threatening lawsuits and demanding retractions of the statements made in the media. But instead of cowering in fear, Marcus saw it as a challenge. "We'll fight back," he told his team during a meeting. "We'll show them that we won't be intimidated." As tensions escalated, Marcus reached out to the community, organizing events to support veterans and their families. He invited Harold to speak at one of the events, allowing him to share his story and the sacrifices made by soldiers like his son. The event drew a massive crowd, with local news stations covering the proceedings. Harold's words resonated with many, inspiring a newfound respect for veterans and the struggles they faced. Marcus felt a sense of pride as he watched his vision for the dealership come to life, not just as a place for buying cars, but as a community hub promoting honor and respect. As the legal battle continued, Marcus found strength in his convictions. He knew that Gregory Steele was watching, and he wanted to prove that standing up for what was right was worth fighting for. Finally, after weeks of tension, the day of the court hearing arrived. Marcus stood tall, flanked by his loyal team and Harold, who had now become a close friend. They entered the courtroom with determination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the proceedings unfolded, Marcus presented evidence of Gregory's unethical practices and the impact they had on the community. He spoke passionately about the values he had built his dealership upon, emphasizing that respect should never be contingent on appearance or wealth. In a surprising turn of events, several witnesses came forward, sharing their own experiences with Gregory Steele and his business practices. The tide began to turn, and Marcus felt a surge of hope. When the judge delivered the verdict, it was a resounding victory for Marcus and the values he stood for. Gregory's influence was diminished, and the court mandated changes within his business practices. As Marcus left the courthouse, he was met with cheers from supporters outside. Harold stood beside him, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it, son." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of his journey lift. "We did it together." From that day forward, Westmount Luxury Auto became a beacon of hope and respect in the community. The dealership flourished, not just as a business but as a symbol of what it meant to stand up for one another. Harold often visited, sharing stories over coffee with Marcus and the team. Together, they celebrated victories, honored memories, and built a legacy that would last for generations. In the end, Marcus learned that true wealth lies not in material possessions but in the relationships we cultivate and the respect we show to one another. And as he looked toward the future, he knew that he would always fight for what was right, no matter the cost.